Over the past few weeks, I've gotten some comments about my movement while walking around in Palia. It's so easy to tell that you're a speedrunner. Why do you keep spinning? Must you really break eggs to make omelets? So today, I've decided to make the most pointless, non-helpful guide that you'll ever see in this game. How do I spin jump in Palia? Now, this may seem like an insane topic to make a video about, but I'm stuck at home with COVID and can't think clearly enough to make a better one, so that's what we're doing. First, you poke a hole in each end of the egg, and this will help you blow the edible part of it out while keeping the eggshell intact, thus disproving... Wait a second, So first, I want to clarify, I do all my spin jumps on keyboard. I mostly find this easier because your character has a bit of lag when turning that's caused by something technical, but that I'll just refer to as turn speed for this one sentence, and maybe the next one. The character's turn speed is an immutable object in the game, as it doesn't matter what you're doing, your character must obey this law. And fun fact, if you alternate between pressing A and D on your keyboard really fast, your character will charge at the camera in a really dumb looking fashion. It's pretty funny. Another fun fact, we're going to take advantage of this behavior, but we're not going to say how. Oh yeah, and I don't use controllers for this because I find the need to spin the stick unnaturally slow for a Mario Odyssey speedrunner, so it just feels really weird. That's the only reason I don't do it on that. Besides, it jolts in a random direction when you land, which also feels bad. Okay, on to the spin jump. As you might be able to tell by the name, there are two parts to this technique. The first can be done by pressing the space bar, which is jump by default. Just don't try this trick in Baldur's Gate 3 as it will end your turn. It appears that all jumps are the same height, so sadly there is very little complexity to this step. You can pause the video now and practice this for the next hour or so. Once you're consistent at jumping, we can move on to phase 2 of this boss. Go practice. I said go. Okay, got that? Good. Now, before we move on to the next phase, I want you to find your favorite wrist stretches and do them. I'll leave you with this cool picture of a sloth for a minute while you find and do them. Okay, moving on. Within Palia, you have 8 directions of movement, unless you're on a controller, but that's cheating. You have up, which is mapped to W by default, left, which is A by default, down, which is S by default, and right, which is D by default. You can remember it with this simple mnemonic: Wailing Aardvark suddenly dab. If that doesn't help you remember, nothing will. By pressing these keys together in combinations, we can, move in fun directions. For example, W and A together will make you go diagonally up left, S and D together will go down right, and W and S together will lock your character in place. This brings us to our first rule of movement: opposites detract. And by this I mean they break the spin. Never hit W and S or A and D together at the same time. It's like dividing by 0, except instead of destroying the world, it just destroys whatever respect I may have had for you a little. Now, since you've practiced jumping for an hour and stretched for a minute, you're actually ready to practice turning. To start, just hold down W, which will run up. Then, without letting go of W, you can press A, and your character will turn diagonally, up and left. This is an impressive feat, and I want you to guess what you're supposed to do next. If you said press S and hold it, you would only be partially right. You see, adding S does not in fact divide by 0 and destroy the universe. Here it will just cause our character to turn completely left, achieving the next turn that we wanted, but making this video way too complicated to explain. So congrats, you broke my script. Instead, we can do the same thing by just releasing the W key from its depressed state, letting it breathe the air once more. Once we're in this state, we can now press S, which will continue the spin. And if we alternate releasing the old key that we had and pressing a new one at a steady rhythm, you'll notice that your character will start to spin as we add keys to this mess. If we do this faster, we can spin in tighter circles. Just be careful because it is possible to go too fast. And the next step is to actually make the omelets using the extracted egg innards, but I'm not qualified to teach that, so you'll have to do that on your own. Our last step is to put our spin and jump together. When we do this, we typically want to be moving in a direction before we jump. I recommend up for beginners. Once we get in the air, you'll find that all of your earlier practice should have ingrained into you the exact amount of time that you have to complete the spins. If it didn't, practice jumping again for another hour, but this time pay more attention to those things that I didn't tell you to the first time. Once you master spinning within the allotted time after pressing the end turn button, you have now successfully mastered the spin jump. Congratulations. Don't hurt yourself. Thank you. If this video helped you, consider following Cinetoasty on Twitch or subscribing to Dad Joke Cinema because they forced this life upon me. And remember, wailing aardvarks suddenly dab.